Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Chef Israel Villanueva. I'm your instructor today. We just came from lecture upstairs. We discussed sanitation, we discussed equipment, we discussed many things. Okay, we're going to be focusing today on knife skills. We're also going to be doing some cooking demos on the principles of cooking. There's several things that we're going to do. I'm going to do about I'm going to plate up 3 dishes for you today. Do some steak, some chicken, various vegetables, also some starches. We're going to do couscous, some Dutchess potatoes. We're also going to do some asparagus, Brussels sprouts, green beans. Of course, we're doing the vegetable cuts. So there's various things that we're going to do. But before we get started, the message for today is going to be principles of cooking. And we always have to cover sanitation and safety. It's very important, especially in our industry. Okay? And feel free to ask questions at any time. This is our first day in lab, so it's very important that everyone pay attention because I'm going to demonstrate exactly what we're seeking. Okay, what I'm seeking when you're plating, we're looking for colors, we're looking for elevation of the plates, and also we're looking for a balance of colors and a balance of foods. Okay. So if we could, we're going to go over to the scullery. It's very important to go over some issues with sanitation and safety. You can follow me. Some of you can go around that way if you like. Some of you can follow me. Okay, so being that it's a first day of class, it's very important to go over this. And I mentioned this up in lecture upstairs. It's very, very important to me. Even this morning, Thomas found some greasy dishes, dirty dishes. It's not your fault because you just got here. We haven't gotten to the lab yet, okay? But those are the things we're looking for, okay? Everyone will be assigned a task every day to ensure that the kitchen is properly sanitized, everything's put away the way it should be. We should always leave things better than the way we found them, okay? So I want to start off with the 3-compartment sink. Okay, in this case we have 4 compartments, and there's a sign right up here, must scrape off food and food off of dishes before washing, and then you scrape, rinse right in here, and then you're gonna wash, then you're gonna rinse, and then sanitize, okay? So unlike the diagram in the textbook, we don't have a sprayer here, but we do have a running hot water, about 130 degrees, it can get pretty hot. But please remember the concept. Cleaning is one thing, washing is another thing, and sanitizing, those are 3 different things. People just say clean the dishes. There's 3 different things going on. So all the food goes into here, okay? And then rinse everything off here, hot water, and get all the grease, excess food, and then you wash. Is there gonna be food in the dishwater? Maybe a little bit, could be, right? But in the rinse water, there should be no food particles, no food at all, okay? And definitely not in the sanitation sink, okay? There should be no water, food in the water. Now, if we start to find food, if I have particles of food in here, it's acceptable, it's okay. But if I see too much food in here, or if I see any food at all over here, I'm gonna stop everything. We're gonna have to rinse, drain, and wash, and start all over again, okay? And remember, you don't come over here until you're ready to wash the dishes. Do not leave a skillet here or a knife, especially knives. Remember what I told you upstairs in the classroom. What happens if you leave a knife in the sink?
0.
You get a 0 for the day. Hey, unfortunately, it has to be that way. That's the only way I could enforce that very important safety. And then also we have a dispenser here for the sanitation, the sanitized solution, the water. It's already dispensed for you. It's already calibrated. The first thing you're going to do, not today, when we get done with lecture and you do your knife cuts, you will be getting a sanitation bucket. But on a regular, ordinary lab day, you're going to come and get your sanitation bucket, which are normally up here, okay? And you're going to come over here and get your sanitation bucket. And then you press the button right here, and it automatically, you can fill it up right in here, okay? You fill it up right here, about halfway. And remember, you're supposed to have three towels. One for your sanitation bucket, one underneath the cutting board, and then one is to clean, okay? And then when we get done at the end of the day, you're gonna wash your sanitation bucket and leave it upside down over here for it to properly drain, okay? These 2 racks, these are drying racks. Which is the best, how is the best way to dry dishes? What's the best way to dry dishes? Air dry, okay? You can't use a single use towel, but that's a lot of waste, okay? That would mean that you would get a paper towel and dry, throw it away. Get another paper towel, but in this case, we're gonna air dry Sometimes you're going to see other racks in here, metal ones. That's for somebody else. These are the only two that we use, okay? Any questions on sanitation buckets and the 3-compartment sink? Be very careful not to leave your knives in here, okay? No questions? Okay, so let's meet back in the lab, please. Okay, so we're going to start off with a wet towel. What's the purpose of putting a wet towel underneath the cutting board? To keep it from sliding all over the place. You see how it slides everywhere? So if I start chopping, it's going to start sliding, and I might be exaggerating this, but I guarantee you that once you start doing it without a towel, you're going to realize it keeps on moving. It's very uncomfortable. In our industry, we work a lot on our feet. We use our back a lot. We do a lot of things that's very unhealthy. When you get older, you start to realize and you understand how hard this industry is. So it's very important from the get-go to make you understand, to take care of your health, to take care of your body, and be very safe when you're working, okay? And you can keep on doing this over and over, and your back starts to slouch over. Eventually your back starts to hurt. Everything starts to hurt, okay? So I'm going to put a wet towel, a damp towel down here, okay? And also before we get started, we do have the color coding system right in the refrigerator if you're unsure. Working with produce, you're going to be using a green cutting board. Okay. Now, a big question is, what color is for seafood? What color is for meats, raw meats? There's a lot of questions for that. So I've even made a mistake before on a certification that I went for. We were using tan for our proteins in our school. I went for certification and they were using a different color. I came back kind of confused about it. Well, after doing research, it depends where you work, the facility that you work at. Our facility, we use this system right here. So traditionally, the yellow we use for poultry, okay? And here we use, for seafood, we use blue, red for raw meats. Cooked meats are a brown cutting board. And salad and fruit, vegetables go on the green, okay? And then the white is for dairy or baking, okay? If you're not sure, we have them on the refrigerators in the back and in the front as well, okay? Let me go ahead and start by washing my hands really quick. You don't have to, I mean, y'all can just stay there, but 20 seconds, forearms all the way up. And also you want to use, especially if you're baking, you'll want to use a brush for your fingernails as well. Try to go to your forearms all the way up there for about 20 seconds. Make sure you have hot water. Make sure you have hot running water. If you don't have hot running water, you will be in violation, okay? And also the requirement for hand washing station, you should have hand soap, you should have hot running water, you should have single-use towels as well. And believe it or not, you have to have a trash can next to your sink. If you don't have a trash can, you can be in violation as well. People tend to throw them on the ground, okay? So those are all the following requirements, okay? Once you dry your hands very well, now we can get started. I have my sanitation bucket right here. The sanitation bucket is required 1 per station. We don't need 16 sanitation buckets or 15, however as soon as we have, but 1 per station. Each table has two persons per station, so one sanitation bucket is good, and we'll sit it down at the bottom of the table, okay? Right down the bottom, out of the way. And then what we're going to talk about now are knife skills. Okay, we did go over in lecture, we talked about knives already. I want to show you the knives. Okay, so we have the chef knife, also known as the French knife. The most commonly used knife in the kitchen, the most commonly used tool in the kitchen, as a matter of fact. You have your paring knife, and you have your boning knife. This is a small chef knife, okay, but we're requiring at least an 8-inch knife, okay? And always try to keep your knives, if you're carrying them around, I like to use a little sheath, okay? Especially if you're putting them away in a bag or something. Okay, so make sure you use the sheath if you're transporting them. So what I want to talk about is the knife sharpening. So the different things that we use for knife sharpening, we have a whetstone, okay? We have the coarse side, and then we have the fine side, okay? And you should always use a lubricant. Okay, you should always use a lubricant. If you don't put a lubricant on your stone, you might damage your knife. You're going to overheat it, you can warp it, or you can damage your knife completely. The only lubricant you use is mineral oil. Okay, mineral oil. It has to be food grade. Food grade mineral oil. You can get it at a pharmacy, most grocery stores. Okay. So you put a little bit of oil on here, on the stove. Okay, my knives are pretty sharp already, so I don't want to get too much into it. Okay, but I like to use also a towel to avoid it from going all over the place. Okay, once you put a bit of the oil on there, then you're going to get that 20-degree angle. Okay, you don't want 90 degrees because you'll ruin your knife. Okay, you want a 20-degree angle, and then you want to go from the heel all the way to the tip. Okay, and all the way down this way. And you want to get at least about 10 strokes on each side. Whether you do one and one, it's up to you. But as long as you get a minimum about 10 on each side, okay? Then the other side, you go to heel all the way to the tip, heel to the tip, all the way down that way, and continue on, okay? So then you can get faster and faster. Make sure you maintain that 20-degree angle. Continue on, heel to tip. Some people like to do rubbing like that. Do it evenly all the way across. Saves time, saves effort. Okay, you get a more even sharpening on your blade. Okay, and then what you want to do? What do we do after we sharpen a knife? What is anyone? What's it called? I'm sorry. That? Yeah, butcher's steel. Okay, it's for honing. What is honing? Honing is I sharpen my knife, and if I were to look under the microscope, as I mentioned, you would see some burrs and imperfections. Okay, what you want to do is just to clean up the edge of your knife. Okay, to go down at the 20-degree angle as well. Generally, some people like to do really fast. Sometimes you tend to mess up your knife doing that. Okay, so I'm just giving it a true edge. I'm cleaning it up. So it's sharpened pretty nice already with the stone. And now when I feel it's a cleaner sharpening on there. So the butcher steel does not sharpen the knife, it holds the edge. Okay?
Excuse me. Do you need to clean that before you use the steel, or just after you?
Yeah, just after. Yeah, you want to rinse it off, sanitize it before you put it away.
I mean, before you from the whetstone to the seal.
No, I don't think it's that important.
Gotcha.
But one thing that I do see that I don't like, I really don't like to see is people start to they sharpen the knife and then they use that butcher steel and then they start cooking right away. Okay, and this has already been washed, but I'm going to go ahead and rinse it real quick. We don't have to go anywhere. We just hang on 1 second. I'm just going to rinse it in the sanitized water really quick. Yeah, so I just wanted to do that really quick, and always walk with your knife facing down instead of walking straight with your knife facing that way, okay? So I washed it, rinsed it, okay? That way to get all that extra metal and dust off of there, okay? So I have a really nice sharp knife now, okay? So the other types of sharpener is going to be, I told you there's a 3-sided whetstone, okay? We have one back there somewhere. A 3-sided whetstone, and it has a tray. That tray has mineral oil on the bottom already. And the cool thing about it is you rotate it to the coarse side. I failed to mention, I sharpened it on the coarse side, and then you go to the fine side. But I told you my knife was sharpened already. I did the fine side only, just for demonstration purposes. But on the whetstone, the 3-sided, you want to start with the coarse edge, the medium side, and then you go to the fine side. Okay, and then you have to hold your knife all the time. The thing about the 3-sided one, it has suction cups in the bottom to keep it from moving anywhere. You notice I had a towel here to keep it from moving. So that one has suction cups. Well, they always get lost. People pull them off the table. And also you have electric sharpener. The electric sharpener, in my opinion, a good quality one is the best thing to use. Unfortunately, they're expensive and people don't know how to use them. So this has a 20-degree angle already for both sides. And it also has a honing little device here to hold the knife as well. Just slide it through gently like that, okay? And that does the honing. This does the job. It works really good. It's too expensive, okay?
I feel like you have to replace those every year. I feel like with those electric ones, you have to replace them every year. Not style specifically.
Yes, it depends. Excuse me. It depends on how often you use it, okay? It's a little warm in here, so I need some water. Okay, so yeah, you do have to replace them often, but if you buy a good quality one, it'll last you a lot longer, okay? But but it's very important to sharpen your knives. So in basic foods, first class, I would say we start using knives today. I would say you sharpen them at least once a week. If you work in the industry, you want to sharpen them more often than that, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, now we're going to discuss, we talked about knives. Are there any questions on knives? Okay, so we did lecture upstairs. We covered almost everything that we're going to talk about today. But now we're going to talk about knife cuts, okay? Being that I don't believe in overworking you just for any reason, we're here to teach you the industry standards, okay? And when you go work in the industry, these are things that you're going to need to know, that you have to understand, okay? So I don't believe in just giving you 10 vegetable cuts just for fun. If you're, some of you are bakers, and there's also hospitality management, but the culinarians, if you're really serious about becoming a chef, you should practice all vegetable cuts. In advanced classes, we will cover a majority of them, okay? For today, we're going to keep it simple. These are the vegetable cuts that we're doing today, okay? We did discuss it briefly upstairs. Batonnet is the first cut you're going to do. And then the next cut is going to be julienne, small dice, and brunoise, okay? And then the measurements are here. And again, the textbook says 2 inches. The previous textbook said 2.5. It depends. What I'm looking for today, when I evaluate your cuts, what I'm looking for is uniformity, okay? I think everyone has their ruler. Some that don't have the ruler, we do have, some of the cutting boards have a measuring device at the bottom. It's not very accurate, but it's your first class, your first lab. I'm not going to be very, very strict on how I evaluate you today, but what I am looking for is uniformity. So if I'm going to get one of your cuts and I'm going to measure one of each with the device, and after I measure that, I'm going to compare it to your other ones. And if they all look the same, well, very well, but even if it's a little bit over the 2.5 that I'm seeking, okay, but that's how I'm going to evaluate you, to be fair. Even if it's a little bit over, a little bit under, okay, just be aware of that. And not to be funny or anything, but some students do not know what an 1/8 of an inch is, okay? I have a ruler down here. To give you an idea, you have the 1 inch mark right here, 1/2 inch is right there, half of a 1/2 inch is a quarter. And half of a quarter is 1/8 of an inch. So I have it here just in case some of us been out of school for a while or we don't use it often, so there's no shame in that, okay? But I do have it written up here for you to look at that. And I will move it forward so y'all can see that, okay? I'm going to require you to make 3 batonnets. You see about 3 each, 3 julienne, about 4 to 6 small dice, and about 4 to 6 brunoise, okay? Now, there's a little shortcut or a trick, if you will. If you look at the batonnet right here, I'm asking for about 3. Go ahead and make about 4, okay? Now you have 4 batonnet that are 2.5 by long, 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, okay? And what is the small dice? 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. So what does that mean? That means that I get an extra, one of these, I get one of the extra ones that I have, and I just cut it 1/4 inch, and now you don't have to go through the whole process. I see some students wanting to cut the whole batonnet out and then start cutting the little the small dice. Just make you an extra batonnet, make you an extra julienne. Cut the julienne 2.5 inches, what I'm seeking, by 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. Well, the brunoise is 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. So get you an extra julienne, and you just got to cut it down to little dice, 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. Any questions on that? Anyone? Okay, so being that I'm old, I'm going to put my glasses on. The measuring devices that I have, I think everyone has their ruler, okay? Wooden ruler is okay to have, but the only issue with them is, to wash it is kind of hard, okay? But we do have a plastic one. The one that I like to use is for tailoring, okay? This is just me. So the thing about the tailoring, it has a little device here that kind of pre-measures where you want to be at, okay? So I'm going to start off doing the batonnet at 2.5 inches. So I'm going to find that, and that's my 2.5 inches right there. It's already marked for me. So all I got to do is just put it, compare it against my carrot, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give me a little bowl. And another thing, we have trash cans all over the place. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a little conscious about our environment. So like for today, there's no sense in dirtying 10 trash cans for some vegetable peels. No sense in doing that. Just get you a bowl, one per table, put your waste in there. We can just all use one trash can, Okay, it saves a lot of bags, it saves the environment. It's up to you, okay, but I highly recommend that. Vegetable peel. There's different kinds of vegetable peels. This is called a heart. Okay, and then there's various, I don't know if I have one of the other basic ones in here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have one. The ones that come in your kit, it has a little swivel. Anyone works, but when you've been working in the industry for a while and you've been using your hands a lot, the heart one is for me, it's a lot more user-friendly. Very flexible, contours, curves, it goes all over that. And then when you start to do peeling, okay, so do I have to peel it to do vegetable cuts? You can actually just cut around it. But I want to show you, I'm showing you principles of cooking, okay? So the vegetable peel, always cut away from you. Same thing with a knife. When using knives, always cut away from you. Never slice towards you or anything like that. Always away from you, okay? And people like to do this. People like to do a little bit at a time. I like to start at one end and try to go all the way down to the bottom, okay? So try to get, the more strokes you get in, the more continuous, the longer. And by the way, all these vegetables have already been rinsed. Make sure that you always rinse your vegetables, okay? So then you want to peel it, go away from you, and the longer strokes you get, the better off you're going to be. Always away from you. The longer strands you get, the better off you're going to be. Instead of doing 100 of these, you can do a couple of long ones. And then this peeler here seems like a little dull. I let students use them all the time. I don't mind sharing my equipment. Yeah, but things do tend to get pretty dull sometimes. Okay, so once I get this peeled completely, okay, so I'm going to put all my waste in here. Okay, so now I have my carrot. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and block. I need to begin with, I need to start off right. I need a perfect triangle, perfect square, more rectangular, because I need 2.5 inches long. Okay, 2.5 inches long. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the stem on here. And remember what I was telling you, some students are going to try to cut the carrot. You're going to try to do this all the way like that. You don't have to do that. Let the knife do its job. Let it roll, just like that. Let it roll. There's no sense in trying to, bam, you hit it down. There's no need to do that. You'll dull your knife really fast if you do that, okay? So some of this stuff we can use for composting, right? We try not to waste anything. Composting, it'll go back into the earth, okay? But also all the scrap that I'm gonna have, like for today, your vegetable cuts, we're actually gonna put them all aside and divide them up. We'll use them for future classes. And my vegetables, I'm gonna use them for my cooking, okay? The scraps that I have, I'm actually gonna save as well. We can put them in a soup, process them, chop them up or something like that, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna get my 2.5 inches, okay? And I already have it pre-measured here. So 2.5 is right about there, okay? So I'm gonna mark it right about there, okay? And then again, I'm gonna roll it down instead of trying to chop it all the way through. Now by looking at this, I wanna make sure it goes straight down. If I go sideways, now I'm gonna have it off center. So now I'm gonna go back and try to fix this a little bit straight down, just like that, okay? So now this should be 2.5 inches. Okay, 2.5 inches right there. So I have my length now, okay? So now what am I seeking? I'm seeking to go ahead and get that perfect rectangle so I can start doing my bâtonnets, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this round into a perfect rectangle, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and go down this way, just like that. And remember, it has to be straight down. If you go sideways, it's gonna be crooked, and you're gonna have a bunch of crooked, uneven bâtonnets, okay? So now that that's flat, go this way, do the same thing. Make sure my knife is straight. Roll it down that way. Do it again. Roll it down that way. And I'm trying not to have too much waste, okay? And then one more time. Okay? So now I have this rectangle. And by looking at it, is it perfect? No. But I'll have to fix it along the way because the carrot is not a perfect shape either on the edges. So now I have a perfect rectangle, okay? So now I have my length. Now I need my width, okay? And the width is gonna be 1/4 inch. I'm gonna go ahead and move my measuring device. Okay, I better put my glasses on. Okay, so that's half right there. Then there's 1/4 inch right there. Okay, so now I'll go right over here, and then I'm gonna mark it at the 1/4 inch, okay? So I have my 1/4 inch mark right there, okay? So now I'm gonna go down this way and cut all the way down, and I'm letting my knife do the job. I'm just letting it roll down, okay? So now I have my length, 2.5, 1/4 inch. And now I need another 1/4 inch, okay, depth. I'm gonna mark it right there. Make sure that my knife is straight and not sideways. Let it roll across that way, okay? So now you have a batt-and-aid, okay? And I'm gonna go and do the next one since I have a nice cut right there. And I'll do it one more time. Okay, so you have batt-and-aid right there. And then the leftover piece, let me see how we did on that one. Yep. So coincidentally, normally it's either bigger or smaller. Okay, coincidentally, it's about right. So now I have my batt-and-aid right there. And remember, I still have my 2.5 inch length. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to do the julienne. And that was 1/8 of an inch. Remember that that's 1/4 inch. And actually, if I were to cut these in half, I would have 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so you can cut a bunch of these and cut those in half. Okay, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and measure out my 1/8 of an inch right here, right over here. Okay, I got one. Let me go ahead and do another one. Oops. And I'll do one more. Okay, so now I need to get my, I have the 2.5 long, 2.5 length, and then I have my 1/8 of an inch in, and then now I'm going to get the 1/8 of an inch width or depth. Now keep in mind that the carrots do tend to, they want a bow, they want to bow up on you, and people want to put them in cold water. That'll actually make it worse. They'll bow and they'll turn and they'll turn shapes. Okay, so be cautious with that. There's another one. There's another one. And then this one's going to be probably a little bit too big, so I'm gonna round that one off. Okay. So we're going to have a pile of the compost, inedible, okay, compost. But then your cuts, when we get done with them, we're going to divide them all up into the different cuts. And we're going to bag them up, and then we'll use them for other advanced passes and other passes, okay? So what we're going to do now is we already have our 2.5 by 1/4 right here. So now we're going to go down and do the small dice, okay? Okay, so the small dice is going to be 1/4. Okay, so that's a small dice. And then what I wanted to show you too, the knife has many functions. I told you you have the heel. That's good for putting pressure on bones and cartilage. The tip is good for getting to crevices. And then also, whenever you're slicing, if you're slicing, for example, if I do this, it tends to stick to the knife. I see people slicing meat and they keep on using the finger, taking the meat, pushing the meat away. If you go in an angle this way, it tends not to stick when you do it really fast. For example, you're doing this, it comes right off, okay? Instead of it sticking. Same thing when you're cutting meat and it sticks there. It's not a big deal, but people tend to want to be kicking it off of there, okay? So here we have, the small dice, okay? Now we're gonna go over here and we're gonna do the Brunoise, which is 1/8 by 1/8 by 1/8, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and measure these. These are a little bit harder to do because they're like really, really tiny. And whatever you do, take all your time. We don't need anybody cutting their finger. Okay, let me do a couple more. Okay, so y'all might be able to barely see it over here. Okay, if y'all want to step up here to look at it, you can.
What do you use that for? Like what?
Primarily, you use that for garnishing, especially for like fine hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres have a lot of garnishing. You can put them in soups, consomme. There's actually consomme, you can say brunoise, consomme, or something like that. Okay. So, but the thing is for fine classic dining, we're here in culinary arts training. You have to become familiar with it. For those of you culinary arts, you will be using them again for garnishing in soups and appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, and so on and so forth. Okay. Any questions on the vegetable cuts that we're looking at today? Because we have a broad audience, baking and hospitality and all that. These are the basic cuts I'm looking for today. In advanced classes, we'll be seeking to do the tornade potatoes and all the other different rondelles, the round ones that we talked about. We did discuss them all upstairs. So are there any questions on the vegetable cuts? Anyone? No? Okay, so I will be putting these away, and we will be sorting them out with the rest of them from y'all's lab. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up some vegetables. Some of these vegetables here we've rinsed already, so I'm going to do I'm doing my prep now. Okay, I'm going to do some prep for the meals that I'm going to do. I'm going to attempt to do 3 plates. So what I have here are green beans. Again, everything's been rinsed off already. I see people that like to trim the green beans. They like to trim them off one by one. It's all about saving time, saving your back. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I've already lined all these up. I have all the stems on one side. There's no sense, and I still see people doing that one at a time. So I align them all to one side, all the stems, and I try not to waste any at all. So I just get the very bottom. I hold to all of them. There's something called the claw method. The claw method is when you grab the product with your fingers like this, okay, and you hold it like this, okay, like this. If you have your fingers out that way, you're going to cut your fingers, okay? The claw method is very important. I like to use my middle finger, the first joint there. I like to use that as a guide, okay? That way I don't overstep my boundary, right? So I'll go right over here, and fingers are all tucked in. We call it the claw method, okay? And then now I have all the stems removed, okay? All the stems are removed. And then now I have my green beans. You can do whatever you like with your green beans. I'm going to blanch these. I'm going to show you the technique because we did talk about the principles of cooking. I'm going to do some blanching. I'm going to do searing, sauteing, stir frying, shocking, wilting, and there's many techniques I'm going to show you today. These I'm going to blanch in hot water, and then I'm going to have some ice water prepared here, and I'm going to shock them. What's the purpose of shocking?
To stop the cooking process.
To stop the cooking process, right? If you're going to use it right away, let it be. But if you're going to use them later today, or you're going to use them tomorrow, because say we're doing prep today for tomorrow, you definitely want to shock them to prevent them from overcooking. And also, you're going to cook them in simmering water, which we have some water prepared here. Then we're going to shock them in the ice water to stop them, and then they're going to become a very nice, vibrant green. Okay? Vegetables should have a nice crunch to it, a nice mouthfeel. It shouldn't be mushy. If you're going to eat them mushy, might as well just buy some baby food or something, right? It's a lot better to have nice fresh vegetables to keep the nutrients and the vitamins. Okay. Let me do some bell peppers. Okay. So these bell peppers here, there's many ways to do them. I'm gonna do some different cuts, and I'm kind of using all these within my plates. Okay. So some people like to cut the head off. The top part off, and then there's a lot of waste, okay? So what I like to do is I like to go start at the very top, and then I like to cut all the way down, and I try to avoid the seeds as much as possible, and go all the way down to the bottom like that, and then go all the way around this way as well, do the same thing, and then go all the way around this way, and do the same thing, okay? And then I'm just left with the seeds in here, so I'm gonna go right over here, and I'm just gonna cut this off right about here, and all the seeds, for the most part, they're confined to here, okay? Compost. And then now I just have what I need here. Okay, and these here are a little bit easier as well because the shape of them. Okay, so now I start here at the top. So instead of cutting the cap off, there's at least an ounce of peppers I'm gonna waste if I just cut it off. And you can go around and cut it, but for me it's a lot easier just to go around this way, just like that, and then go all the way down to the bottom, and then do it one more time all the way down to the bottom. Just like that, and then one more time. Okay, and all my seeds are confined to here. Okay, so there's no reason to have seeds everywhere. Okay, I think I'll just do the yellow and the red. Okay, and then what I'll do is I showed you the vegetable cuts. Those are very important to know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some different cuts over here, similar to julienne. Some people like to call them fajita strips. Some people like to call them, just sticks. They also call them sticks. But in any case, vegetables should all be cut as uniform as possible. Why is that? We mentioned there's two reasons. Cooking evenly, yes. And what else? Aesthetically pleasing to the eye. It looks really nice. I'm not going to get them all perfect because they're different shapes, but I'm going to try to get them as close as possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go right down the middle right here, that way. And then again, if I start doing this number, it'll take forever. So I like to put my knife at an angle, and I like to do this. Actually, I'll get rid of that one. Okay, so I have uniformity right here as close as possible, considering that the bell pepper is a different weird shape, okay? And I'm gonna go over here and do some more. And remember, I'm using the claw method. I'm gonna do a little bit more like these. Okay, and then what I like to do is I'm gonna get some of these as well, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut me some maybe similar to Brunoise. And I'm gonna use some. I'm gonna saute some and put them on my vegetables. I'm gonna dice some and put them in my couscous. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut some more this way. Using the claw method, being very safe. Now I'm gonna go and gather them all together. You grab them all together. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get a little bit more and put them together. It saves a lot of time. Remember, it's about saving your body and your health. Okay. Do we have the salamander on already? Okay. And then we have the oven on. Okay, so I'm going to do the vegetable cuts and then I'm going to start cooking. Okay. So I grab all these together, use the claw method, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to try to get them as uniform as possible. And then you can start pushing them in with your fingers. Start pushing them in. Okay, so now we have those right there. And nice and uniform, okay? Let me go and slice some of these up as well. I like to use it at an angle. And how do you hold your knife? What did we talk about? How do you hold your knife? It's hard to say, right? Everyone's different. Some of you are going to hold it like this with your thumb right here and your finger right over here. And when I'm slicing really fast, I hold it this way. It's better. Whatever's better for your wrist. We're all built differently, okay? So I'm going to slice it this way. I'm going to hold it this way at an angle. It works a lot better for me that way. I like to take some of the pith out of here. So these are good slices. I've heard people call these fajita slices. These are not the fajitas. Okay, and then let me do, I like to get everything as uniform as possible. It makes it a lot easier and a lot faster, a lot neater, more uniform. Okay, then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go ahead and do some of the small dice. Using the claw method, being careful not to cut myself. Could you do me a favor and give me another blue tray, please? Okay, so we have my green beans, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly what's going where. I just know that I'm making a couple steaks, a couple chicken breasts, and I'm doing asparagus, Brussels sprouts, some broccoli, and then I have, remember when I told you when you make a vegetable, we don't just do one vegetable, here's your broccoli, or here's your, here's your Brussels sprouts. We have accompaniments that go with it. Maybe a little bit of diced bell peppers, maybe a little bit of, thank you, a little bit of diced peppers, a little bit, maybe some caramelized onions, shallots, mushrooms, and such. Okay, so I'm going to wait for another over here, so I can make more room on my cutting board. If you ever work on a cutting board with a lot of things, you want to make sure that you have plenty of space. It starts to get crowded, and then it starts to get a little bit dangerous. So right now I'm working with vegetables, okay, using the same cutting board. But once I change over to another product, I need to clean my area, okay, I need to sanitize my area, and then I'm going to jump into another dish, whether it's a starch or whether it's a protein. Have the proper cutting board. Okay, so now I have my vegetables there. Okay, and then the broccoli. I think I'm gonna saute my broccoli and caramelize it. That's something that you probably would want to also blanch. You probably want to blanch that as well. Blanching is a process of dumping it into simmering water, maybe between a boil and a simmer. 2 to 3 minutes. Blanching it kind of gives it a pre-cooked, hard boil, if you will. But in my case, I want to caramelize it. I actually want to get it really nice and caramelized. And if it's too soft, it'll overcook very easy. But in my case, I want to caramelize it. So I want it to be hard and dead to give it time to cook and be able to get the caramelization in there. Then when it comes to broccoli, this is trimmed up pretty nice. Same thing, you want uniform cuts, okay? This is probably too big for bite size. You might see it that way at your local buffet or something, but I think it would probably be a little bit better to have it about this big right here, okay? That's more of a bite size, in my opinion. Okay, so let me go ahead and get some, let me get my towel here, so I can get some of this off of here. So you have a towel for cleaning, removing debris. Of course, you never want to mix it up with protein, but you have your towel for sanitizing. This is just to clean it off, okay? You gotta be very careful not to mix your towels up. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to some mushrooms. I also have some zucchini. A lot of these items we had that we want to use up, okay? So here I have green onions. These are also known as spring onions. Over in the UK, spring onions, but we also call them scallions, okay? What's the difference? They're all the same thing pretty much, okay? I like to get about the outer layer, especially if it's dry, if it's kind of dried up. I like to peel the outer layer off. Not too far back, you don't want too much waste. Okay, and then the tips tend to absorb flavors and they dry out and all that, so I like just to remove the tips. Even if I have to like move them up, to line them up, I just want to remove the tips off like that. Okay, I don't want too much waste. This seems a little bit limp and a little bit dried up. And the same thing with this right here. I want to gather them, and the more, if you have a lot to do a whole bunch at one time, pile them up, okay? Use the claw method, and then I'm gonna start cutting, and I want to cut these at an angle. And the green part is a lot milder than the white part. They have different tastes, but also the white part has a really good taste when you caramelize it. Caramelizing is a process of where you're cooking, possibly sauteing, and you start to get the natural sugars out and it starts to crisp, okay? So now I have my green onions there. Put it right here, okay? My zucchini, cut the edge off over here so I don't have too much waste. You can make them however you want. So I'm going to do half circles, half rounds, okay? I'll cut it right down the middle this way. Some people like to do one at a time. I prefer to do them all at one time. And again, uniform cuts. I'm going to do mine about 3/4 of an inch, okay? Right about there. Try to be uniform as possible. Okay, so now I'll have my zucchini here. Okay, and let's get some mushrooms. Okay, so we have some baby bella mushrooms. We have some shiitake mushrooms and portobello mushrooms. We were able to get a nice, it's kind of hard to find them these days, to find an assortment, a chef special, because of a little bit of everything, okay? On the mushrooms, I like to cut the bottom tips off. Those tend to be kind of woody, a woody texture, kind of tough. Same thing with the shiitakes. The shiitakes tends to be pretty woody, the entire stem. The baby bellas, not as much. I like to get the little tips off. Those are woody, and then they also absorb a lot of flavor, okay? The question is, should you rinse your mushrooms in water? Should you rinse them off? The answer will probably be no in most cases because they absorb a lot of water. The concept that I told you about moisture is the enemy of texture. So if I were to rinse them under water, they're going to be like a sponge. And I try to saute them and caramelize them, nothing's going to happen. They're going to steam and overcook. Okay. So now, and also the bottom of the portobello, the ribs. Are you okay? Can you take her and have a seat outside, please? Just have a seat for a minute. Can you keep an eye on her, please, Thomas? If anybody feels the need to sit down, it is kind of warm in here, and if you're not used to standing up so long, make sure you sit down as needed, okay? And if you're not feeling well and you want to sit in here, you're welcome to bring a chair in here as well, okay? If you want to bring a chair, if you're not feeling well, okay? So the ribs right here, it's debatable. Some people say leave them there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this water on. I apologize if I turn my back to you, but I'm about to get busy here. I'm going to have 3 plates. I'm going to do it one time. And the reason I do 3 plates is because I'm expecting you at the end of the semester to come up with 1 plate and 2 sides. I'm going to do 3 plates with the 2 sides in each plate, and on top of that, I'll do some bonuses, a couple sides on top of that, okay? But I'm going to get my water. I'm sorry?
In 2 hours.
2 hours? That's in 2 hours. Okay, so I have my ovens preheated. That's the first thing you want to do is you want to preheat your ovens. My salamander is being preheated. I have my ovens preheated for making Dutch potatoes. Okay, my water for blanching. Couscous is ready to go. I got potatoes cooked already for the Dutches. I need to smash them up and go ahead and add my ingredients to it. But back to the mushroom. So the ribs, leave them in there, take them out. I prefer to clean them out.
Why?
They tend to get kind of messy in the dish, depending on what you're doing with them. If you're going to stuff it, not a problem, okay? But if you're going to saute them and mix it with other vegetables, it tends to look dirty. And then also, in my opinion, they have a bitter taste to them. They can have a bitter taste to them as well. So it'll alter the dish that you're trying to do, okay? So I like to clean them out like that, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a mixture. I'm going to have a mixture of mushrooms, okay? So again, uniformity. These are kind of small. These are a little bit bigger. These are medium. I'm going to go ahead and try to cut them up all the same size. And again, the uniformity. You want to try to get about the same thickness, okay? Now, when you saute the mushrooms, they tend to have a really good crispy edges. I like the golden brown. And you're going to notice when I cook, I like to cook with oil, olive oil, and also what I like to cook with is butter. Butter is, in my opinion, is the best thing to cook with. The only problem is it's very expensive and it's very fattening. Okay, so I do put a little bit of butter for the texture, for the flavor. Okay, so now I have my mushrooms. Of course, they're different shapes because the mushrooms are all different shapes, but the width is pretty much similar in all of them, so we get some even cooking in there. Okay, and then I have some garlic. So try to be as neat as possible. Some of the crumbs and stuff tend to carry over to other dishes. And then somebody gets a dish and they're eating it, they're like, what's this? It shouldn't be in there. Okay? So that's why I try to be as neat, always clean after yourself. They call it clean as you go. Okay, clean as you go. Don't wait till the end and have a mess everywhere. Does anyone know someone that these dishes all over the place?
Yeah.
Piles and piles and piles? Yeah, so now I have garlic. I have garlic cloves. What I like to do with the garlic cloves is I like to take the little dry edges off where the stem was at.
Why do you do that?
Because those are they're dried out and they also tend to absorb flavors as well. It's dry, and if it's dry, it's going to absorb flavors out of the refrigerator. What was that?
It's bad too, you can see it in dishes.
Yeah, and some people like to cook with them. But especially like a soup or stew, they don't know. But if you have a whole head of garlic, you want to just remove them, remove the cloves, and then you want to just crush it down this way, and then the skin comes right off. Okay, and then you want to remove the little edges, the little dry edges. Okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate the technique mincing. Okay, mincing. How hard it is? It's really not that hard, but the key is uniformity. We're looking for uniformity again, okay? Again, I like to gather them up, and in some cases, I find it easier if I crush them because sometimes these are pre-peeled already, okay? So it's not too bad, but if they're nice and fresh, they tend to be pretty hard, and they're kind of hard to chop. So now that I've chopped them up, now I'm gonna get my claw method, and I'm gonna start chopping, and just pushing it in with my fingers, the claw method, okay? So if y'all can't see, you can get a little bit closer if you like. So just keep on chopping, and the objective is to have a uniform look to them. You don't want a big chunk and a small chunk and a small fine particle. You want it as uniform as possible, okay? And then you want to clean your knife off. There's a little peel right here, and they were pre-peeled, so they missed that part. Okay, so keep on chopping. This right here would probably be considered a rough chop, okay? But what I'm trying to accomplish is mince. Mince is like finely chopped. And if you don't mince properly, what's gonna happen also is some people don't like garlic, and then they're gonna bite that one piece of garlic, and they're gonna be disappointed. They're gonna be like, what is this? They're gonna be kind of disappointed in that. So continuously chop. Is she okay?
Yeah, I think she's fine.
Okay, so I'm looking for uniformity. If I ever have you chop vegetables for me, I'm actually gonna, I would look in there and I'll see if how uniform it is. Is it gonna be perfect? Probably not, but that's what I'm looking for, okay? Gather it all together this way, and I'm gonna go over just one more time. Yeah, please.
Chef, are those NSF cutting boards non-absorbent
Yes.
odor as well?
Yes, for sure.
I was just wondering if you were to cut that garlic dust for using.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I think the last part of the question?
You know, because you're cutting mushrooms, if you cut garlic and it was absorbed, and then if you went to cut your mushrooms now, if you cut garlic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If your
Yeah,
mushrooms
it is-
absorb your garlic.
Yeah, it is NSF, and also everything's been washed off, all the vegetables washed off as well. Okay. Then two more things I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and also cut some onion. Okay. So what I do with the onion is I'll peel it. I'll cut the both ends off. Okay. I try to take off the outer layer, just the outer layer only, so you don't waste too much. Onions do come very dirty, in most cases. And when they come dirty like that, once I peel the outer layer off, I'll give it a rinse. Okay. So the onions. It's kind of round. You got to hold on to it really good. Okay. Some people like to cut their onions, go in horizontal and then vertical. I like to do this. Okay. So I like to go, and again, don't forget the uniformity. All the same thick width as possible. And I like to hold the. I want to make sure to hold it the claw method, and then go down this way. Okay. So what I'll do is I like to pile them all up. And I'm pushing it in with my fingers, and my fingers try to push them back at the same time. Pushing it in, push the product in, and then bring my fingers back, okay, with that claw method, okay? So now, there's many ways to do it. I see people do it all the time, horizontal, vertical. You still have all that mess to deal with at the end. You have the residual, the excess left over. I see them throw that away. You never want to waste food, okay? So what I like to do is I'll get it like this and grab onto it, everything at the same time. And then I'll go one way, just like this. I'm trying to do like a fine chop on this one, okay? And that should have got most of it, but to be safe, I'll go back the other way. And I just hold on to it for whatever I missed. And I'm trying to think in my mind, I want the uniformity, try to keep the spacing about the same, evenly all the way across. And at the same time, you could adjust. You can move the onions. There's a whole slice, move it sideways to make sure that you get uniform cuts, okay? So now, this is what we have. So remember, if you're changing to another product, dairy or poultry or something, you definitely want to put cutting board. And if you're working with for a long time, like the sanitation bucket, you should change the water out like every 2 hours. Okay, same thing with the cutting board. If something gets too dirty or something, you want to definitely wash the cutting board and change it out. Okay, and then let me do the shallots really quick too. Shallots is the cousin of the garlic, the onion. It's known to have like a little garlicky taste to it, a little sweetness to it. They taste really good when you cook them, especially when you caramelize them. Same thing with these. I cut the ends off. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do with these, since I already showed you the mincing. The mincing, if you look at it, they're all uniform. You don't have big pieces and small pieces. And this one here, I think I'm gonna cut it in half, and then I'm gonna slice them. Okay, so we have sliced shallots. Put these in the corner. Okay. Then the last thing I'm going to show you is parsley. Okay, chopping parsley. That is one of consider when you do vegetable cuts. Parsley is a good one to be familiar with. Parsley, you normally want to remove the stems. The stems are good to make stocks. Okay. You want the leaves in here. Those are good. Okay. So now gather it up, ball it up as close as you can. That'll save a lot of time. And then you start chopping, pushing it in with your finger, using that claw method. Be careful not to cut your finger. Pushing it in, pushing it in. Continue, continue. Clean your blade off every once in a while, like that. It started to break down really nice. And what I look for, if I'm looking at parsley, I'm looking at, I don't want a big leaf and a small leaf and all this and that. I try to get as uniform as possible. And I did mention, when they tell you to chop parsley, they might say a rough chop or a fine chop. I like to do a very, very fine chop. But then also to prepare it, what you do is you'll give it a rinse. You'll rinse it under cold water a couple times in a paper towel or a cheesecloth. Something like that. Okay, and then we're going to give this little cheesecloth right out here. Okay, so what I have, and sometimes I like to get even finer than that, so you can see whenever you spread it apart, it looks a lot better than versus a parsley, whole parsley leaf on your plate, like an antenna. You want to avoid that. It looks better when you do a little bit of fine chopped parsley. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pick up as much as I can here. Okay, and then I'll rinse it under cold running water. And what that does is when you rinse any kind of greens or lettuces, it rejuvenates it, brings it back to life, makes it vibrant, it keeps it from wilting. And also, if your knife is not sharp enough, you're going to actually have some discoloration, some bruising in there. So you want to be careful. So I like to squeeze all the excess moisture out of there, okay? And then what we'll do is I'll refrigerate this whenever we're ready for it, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and prep my area. I'm going to go ahead and set up my area to go ahead and start cooking. I need to shake my. Okay, so now I'm going to clean my area. Remember, cleaning is one thing. Clean everything out of the way. And it's good to have a wide open area to work with. It starts to get dangerous if you have stuff everywhere, especially if a knife, if you get a knife in the way, you can actually hurt yourself, okay? Okay, so now, let me sanitize my area really quick. So remember, the sanitation bucket and towel is only for sanitizing, okay? nicely washed and sanitized. Okay, and there shouldn't be any food in here. That's why I clean everything first. Okay. So now, thanks to Thomas, we have everything set up. I'm going to be doing multiple things here. I'm going to have a couple things going here, a couple things going behind me, but I will bring it to the front. Okay. So we're supposed to have audio-visual set up, cameras. Supposedly we're getting it really soon, and that way you can be at your workstation watching on a monitor. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I have broccoli here that's nicely trimmed. Okay, so I have some Brussels sprouts. Okay, I have asparagus. Did I say broccoli? I just said broccoli, right? I do have broccoli right here. Okay, the broccoli is going to be caramelized. Okay, sauteed, caramelized. And I did say broccoli, but it's asparagus. I have asparagus here. A little bit of oil on there. Okay, a little bit of salt and pepper. Kosher salt. I like kosher salt. It's a lot more flaky. You get the result, the taste right away. It dissolves versus the regular table salt. It's kind of dense, and it takes a little while to get the actual effect. And people keep on adding salt over and over. Okay, so a little bit of garlic. Okay, a little bit of pepper, black pepper. Okay, then I'll mix this up. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to use the salamander for the asparagus, and we're going to roast it. Okay, we're going to roast this here shortly. We're going to roast that. Okay, and then here we have the Brussels sprouts. A little bit of oil. A little bit of oil. It helps it brown evenly, and it gives it better flavor as well. And what I'm doing is a demonstration. It's a very basic seasoning: salt, pepper, garlic, and then when you start cooking, you're going to start adding your own maybe herbs or maybe different flavors to it. And then what I'm going to do with this here is I'm going to roast these, and then I'm going to finish it off with a little balsamic vinegar. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add a little bit of I'm going to add some shallots to this as well. That tends to caramelize really nice. Maybe add some color to it as well. Okay. I'm always thinking about flavor and color. Remember, I told you when you serve me a vegetable, it's not going to be just here's your Brussels sprouts. You should have accompaniments. What are accompaniments? It's going to be some onions, some bell peppers, maybe mushrooms, or whatever the case is. Okay. And these right here, we're going to throw into the oven. Make sure that the coating is really nice. I have the oven at about 375. What I want you to remember as well, convection oven we're using, it always adjusts about 25%. If it calls for 350 and you're using convection oven, you want to bring it to 325. Don't forget the 25-degree difference. Okay. So I'm going to put that in there. Okay. Then now what I'm going to do, again, I don't have any set thing. I'm just going to be running around. I'm going to go ahead and blanch. So we're broiling the asparagus. We're going to blanch and saute the green beans. I'm going to roast the Brussels sprouts. Okay. So I have my boiling water here. I'm going to go ahead and dump it in there. And it's at a medium. It's not at a big boil. It's at a medium boil. Okay. And then I'm going to soften with ice water to prevent it from further cooking. Have my ice water ready. And the asparagus does not take long, and the salamander, if anything, it'll take, I would say, about 3 to 5 minutes, depending how high you have the salamander. We are going to walk to the salamander. Here, I'm going to have them put in a little bit, and then we're going to go over there and take them out, and I'm going to show you how that works, okay? So let me go ahead and preheat my skillets. So I have my plates ready. So we did our meats this morning. Thomas and I, we got all our things together. I did the prep, and now I'm going to start cooking now. Okay, so don't forget what mise en place means and prep, different things, okay? So the green beans, I'm going to say I'll give it another minute or two. I'm going to go ahead and turn this propane burner on as well. And because I'm doing 3 different dishes, things are not going to come out exactly the way they would at a regular restaurant. Things might get cold, but these are demonstration purposes, okay? I always think about plating, colors, okay? I always think about the colors and plating, so I always think about what am I serving? I wouldn't put green beans on a green plate, maybe in a yellow plate or something like that, okay? Okay, so I'm preheating while I do this because it does take a little while. Okay, so I'm gonna take a look at my green beans. I'm about to bring them over here to show you. And I think I'm happy. So blanching, when you're blanching, it's like par cooking. It's about halfway there, you know. And then whenever you saute them or whatever you're doing them, then you'll finish them off in that manner. So this is called a spider, this tool here. It's good for straining. You see the nice color there, and then you dunk it in ice to keep it from overcooking, okay? So now we blanch those. Okay? So I'm gonna let it sit here for a minute, because the reason I did that again, I don't want it to overcook. Okay, so now I have potatoes right here. So potatoes, right? So there's a classic dish called Dutchess potatoes. Okay, that's the dish I was telling you about. If you're not sure what to do with your starch, you're gonna do Dutchess potatoes. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bowl right here. Okay, so let me go ahead and lower this. So please keep one thing in mind is you shouldn't see smoking. I preheated this, but if something's smoking, it's too high, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and lower these. I preheated them where I wanted to. And then let me get a couple things together, and then I'm gonna wilt the spinach, okay? And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and start my mushrooms right here. Mushrooms do take a little bit to get the caramelization, and they are like a sponge, okay? So make sure that you have the proper heat so it doesn't soak up too much. And I always start off cooking, what did I tell you the temperature was? Right? Yeah, you wanna use a thermometer, have a thermal thermometer here to see where we're at, and that says it's about 300, almost 350 almost. But it's almost there, not quite yet. But if you don't hear anything, you have a problem, right? That means it's absorbing, it's not doing anything. If it's popping and cracking all over the place, that means it's way too high, okay? Put a little bit more oil. Okay, we give it a little toss. Okay, and these take a little while to cook down, so I want to start these first. Okay, the potatoes, I'm going to bring them up to temperature. This right here is, I think it's hot enough for me. Now let me tell you, this is going to be sauteed, and eventually caramelization is going to take place. It's going to start to get nice and golden brown. That's what I'm looking for. People eat with their eyes. Okay. The other thing I want to show you is the technique of wilting. Wilting is you have something like, for example, spinach. Spinach is nice and crispy. It's standing up, nice and crispy, and I want to make it limp. Just like that. That's what I'm doing. I don't want to overcook it. If I overcook it, it's going to have a bad taste to it. It's going to be mushy. Now you lost your nutrients and your vitamins, okay? Just a little bit of oil, okay? Not too much. Maybe some tongs. Okay, it starts to smoke a little bit. Maybe it's too high. I'll remove it for a little bit. It's not a big deal. And this is a really quick process, okay? So now, let me go ahead and add my spinach in there. I have it as low as possible now because it's really hot. When you introduce something to heat, it tends to bring the temperature down, okay? I've already introduced it. I have it at the lowest setting possible. And all I'm gonna do is wilt it. Remember, you have a nice crispy lettuce and you wanna wilt it, just do that. And nice and green and vibrant, that's where it should be at. When you put salt, if you put salt in here, we tend to over salt it because it looks like a lot. When it comes to spinach, you have like this, and then by the time you get done, it's very little, okay? Just toss it around like this, and I'm gonna season it, but I'm gonna wait for a little bit because I wanna see about how much I need. And for that amount, I'll probably need very little, okay? Now over here, it's starting to smoke a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and lower it. Give it a little toss. See the golden brown color that's coming out? Okay, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And the same thing with this. I do want to season it because we cook in layers, okay? I'm actually going to add a little bit of garlic to the spinach here, okay? I'm going to add some some color to it as well. Okay. We're gonna add the salt, a little pinch of salt. Not too much because it's gonna reduce down. A little bit of pepper. Okay, you just toss it around. And it's almost there. Okay, you want a nice vibrant green color. And then the issue with spinach as well, it tends to bleed. It tends to bleed a lot. Okay, and then when you go to plate, it causes problems. Okay, let me get it to toss again. It's cooking pretty fast. Nice golden brown color. Okay. What I like to do with the spinach, and this is just about done. Okay, so that's how you cook spinach. And I'm gonna put it in a paper towel just for a minute. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna get rid of the moisture because I don't want it all over my plate. Okay, it's gonna absorb the moisture, and then I'll plate it up. These are getting pretty close to where I want them, and I haven't seasoned them yet, so I'm about to do that now. A little salt. And remember, those are going to reduce as well after it loses all the moisture. A little garlic. Okay. Nice color there. Okay. And let me see about the potatoes. Okay, so the potatoes, I'm going to go ahead and strain the potatoes. Okay, the potatoes. And to avoid all the excess moisture, I like to put them back in the pot. The burner's turned off already. The heat is going to get rid of the extra moisture. Okay, I don't want that extra moisture. I'm going to let this cook just a little bit more because I'm starting to get that color that I want, that golden brown color. That should be good. Okay, so the excess moisture is gone. You can see all that moisture going. Okay, so potatoes. We have a food mill right here that you mash the potatoes through. Okay. Also have a ricer that you press it through as well. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do it with a fork, okay? Because you lose a lot in there. I have some melted butter here. I'm going to put some butter in there. We're going to take about, for this amount, probably do about a half an egg. And how do you do half an egg with, let's see, I'll just do it over here. So let me go ahead and give this one final toss, and I think I'll turn it off. So we have a nice golden brown color. Okay, I'm going to hold it back here until I'm ready for it. Turn this off for now. And then I'm gonna get about half an egg, maybe about 3/4 of the egg. I don't want too much egg; it tends to dry it out. A little bit of the white. Okay, not all the egg. Okay, key ingredient. The key ingredient in Dutchess potatoes is going to be the egg. It's a nutmeg. Okay, it's a little ground nutmeg. I like to use white pepper. Traditionally, you use white pepper. You don't want black pepper in there, so white pepper. And I'll put a little bit of salt. Okay. And I like to put a little bit of cream, heavy cream. And what you're trying to accomplish is a good texture where you can pipe it. You're able to pipe it out with a piping bag. And also, you don't want to overwork your potatoes, okay? You overwork your potatoes, they get really starchy as well, okay? And a ricer is probably the best thing to use, a ricer. It gets it pretty evenly. Couldn't find mine this morning, so I'm using just a fork. And the texture looks pretty good. So essentially what you're looking at is like mashed potatoes, okay? But the ingredient is egg, and it's nutmeg. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe it out. Try to get it nice and fluffy. Try to get all the lumps, the clumps out. Okay? It's all in the cladding, it's all in the prep. Okay, got everything ready. Okay, so now you bakers, make sure you practice your piping. This does require some piping. Have a lined pan right here with a little spray. Make sure you put the spray on there. Take all the air out. Give it a twist. And it depends how you like. You like a big rosette, a small rosette. I'm gonna do like medium rosettes. Uniformity. Yeah, I kind of went off on the last one a little bit. Not a big deal. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop these in the oven. Brussels sprouts need to be deglazed. A little bit of balsamic vinegar. Technically, you would do the deglazing in a skillet, okay? But you can get a little sizzle there. Who likes roasted Brussels sprouts? Awesome. Nice roasted color to them, okay? So again, plating, because I'm doing a demo, it's not going to be everything to be maybe room temperature. It's still going to taste as good, okay? I'm going to set these aside for use, okay? Okay, so where am I at now? Okay, so you don't have to follow me just yet. I'm going to go put these in the salamander. Okay, y'all can stay here. Okay, I'm going to put the salamander. If somebody can put a timer for like 7 minutes. Please. Okay, so we have it on. So we have it like a medium. Okay, so what I'm going to get into now is I'm going to start cooking the protein. Let me go ahead and start heating this up. I want to get this hot. Okay, I'm going to get as hot as I can. Get this one hot. Okay, and probably going to need another skillet. One of these. Wash my hands really quick. So we don't waste any time, I'm preheating instead of just waiting till the last minute, okay? About to go to proteins now, so I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands. Put that in the bottom, please. Okay, so as I told you before, moisture is the enemy of texture. I'm about to coat the protein in that steak.